then, since it's just me here, talk about where you guys are both starting off in this second season after last season's craziness in the finale.
Yeah, I mean, you know, season two starts in a really interesting place for the audience because the Locks think they've won. At the end of season one, they think that they've defeated Dodge, that there's no more threat. They are settling in at Key House and in Matheson. They have all these friends and new relationships. A lot of their interpersonal family dynamics are really strong. So they're doing better, all of them really, than they have been in a long time. And on the other hand, we, the audience, knows that the villain, that Dodge is not gone, that in fact Dodge is closer and more menacing than ever, and there's a new demon. So the threat is bigger than it's ever been. So the tension between those two contradictions grows and grows and grows at the beginning of season two.
Yeah, and it's I would say the other thing is, along with starting out with the Locke family being connected and feeling on top of the world and happy from the adult side of the of things, where Nina doesn't see the magic. You know, she just thinks that the family's connected and her kids are happy in Matheson, and she made the right decision moving everybody back to Rendell Locke's ancestral home. And that continues for a little while at the beginning. And then, of course, as the stakes get ramped up and Dodge, Gabe creates more and more trouble, and the Locks discover more about the power behind the keys and this subject about who can make keys, and there are attempts that are made this season and why, and all of that. In the adult world, Nina starts to feel this sort of separation from her kids, and she starts to feel the strain again of not connecting to them, and she doesn't know why. And this is played out in new ways this season than season one. So it's not a repeat, but it's a build upon that. So it's the stakes for everybody in both worlds are higher.
Speaking of playing out a little bit differently this season, I asked Meredith and Carlton about this a couple minutes ago. What was it like to kind of go from Laisla as Dodge from in season one to more of Griffin as Dodge in season two? How interesting was that?
I mean, it's hard to remember that it's actually the same character sometimes, because they have such different energies. And I mean, as actors and as characters. And for us, I mean, in a way, I had a lot, just on a surface level, I had a lot more stuff with Griffin than I did with Liza in season one. Largely up until the end of season one, and a little pocket in the middle, Liza is like this, Dodge as a villain is like this force that's coming from outside. We don't actually have that many interactions with her. Whereas Gabe is woven into our lives in a much more profound, everyday way. And he is a much more casual presence. You know, he's not always this black cloak wearing menacing demon. He seems like a normal kid. That's why it's so scary. And I think that it's a really fun way to keep that character fresh. That it also raises a lot of questions, I think, about what Dodge wants and who Dodge really is at her core. That I think becomes actually really an interesting part of the show as it goes on.
So, Darby, for you, things take a little bit of a different direction for Nina this season. We get to see her maybe a little bit happier, if I can kind of put it that way. So, how much did you know about what her direction would be heading into this season, and how great was it for you to kind of get to see her in a little bit of a happier light this season?
It was nice. Carlton and Meredith, that was one of the first things they told me about season two. Nina's going to meet somebody. There's going to be a new person in her life that will get her attention. And then we actually did some Zoom chemistry reads, since, it's the time of COVID and I was already in Toronto shooting. We did. So I had a pretty good idea before we started shooting. And when we got into that, when Brendan Hines, who plays Josh Bennett, and I started working, fantastic actor. We had a great time working together. But I felt sort of something felt off about within the first couple scenes of ours. I remember there's this one scene that's about a 3-page scene, and we were working on all day, and I just felt like I wasn't quite getting the full thing. And we finished, and it was just nagging at me. And it wasn't until I slept on it and the next day I realized, oh yeah, Nina's happy. That's what's different. She's happy. And so that was nice to get to explore and discover what this new sort of emotion is, and not to totally let go of the grief, but it transforms. And it was, it was nice to sort of keep that underneath the whole season. But yeah, the new element of happiness was fun to play.
Connor, I feel like a little bit different for you because we know what the rules of magic are. We know what the rules of the keys are. We also know that Tyler is the eldest of the Locke children. So talk about what kind of pressures he's facing this season, not just for himself, but I mean, for Jackie as well, quite frankly.
Yeah, Tyler, because he starts in this place of more security and comfort with his family and with his home and with these keys, it gives him the space to suddenly realize that he and Jackie are on the cusp of being adults. And they know from season 1 that adults can't remember magic. I mean, Nina sees magic, but it doesn't stick. Duncan can't remember. We're not exactly sure why, or why some people can, or some people and others can't. But it becomes this looming thing for him that he's going to forget, and Jackie is going to forget. And if they forget magic, are they also going to forget everything that magic has given them? All this new closeness with Kinsey, and this understanding of who his dad was that has given him so much relief. Is that all going to go away too? And if Jackie forgets magic, is that going to sever this bond that they have? And he becomes really focused on that and trying to find a way to hold on to those memories and to hold on to this life that he's built for himself. And Jackie has sort of a different take on it. And as the season goes on, she becomes a little warier and she starts to wonder if adults forget magic for a reason, that there's something natural in letting go of those memories as you grow up. And that becomes that tension between them, and the threat of that forgetting is really Tyler's central arc this season.
Awesome. Really quickly, without spoiling anything, how cool was it to work with some of these newer keys this season?
It's always fun to have a new key. I mean, I wish that they had introduced a new key every scene. I just think it's fun I always enjoy the conversations in a really banal way. I enjoy the conversations on set of how does this key work? Do you turn it clockwise or counterclockwise? What sort of face do I make? What sort of sound does it make? Because that's the thing I always forget, even watching just the trailers for season 2, is how much of the effect of these keys is the sound that they make. The sound that the head key makes when it's turned, or the sound that the Hercules key makes when it goes in, which obviously when we're shooting is not there. And having to imagine that freshly with each key is really fun.
And let me tell you, I had key envy.
I'll bet.
never even getting to hold these things. Every once in a while I would take one away from them and just hold it and be like, what it must be like.
Although one downside is there's something we invented called key acting, which is having to use these keys are really small. True. Right? Yes. And having to maneuver them in shots, it's very technical. It's raise it, if there's a shot that seems simple, raise the key up and look at it. Of course, you have to raise it at a certain distance from your body and between the camera for focus, and get it to turn it in a way so that it hits the light. And sometimes you do this 15 times and you're like, God damn, I hate these keys so much.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I would be good at key acting.
You were good at key acting?
I said I would be good if I ever
Oh,
had a
okay.
key. I would be. That would be.
Also, here's
you
another
know.
thing, just to add to the appreciation that people have when they watch. That I don't know if you ever, next time you try and open your door, like just how often do you, like without any fiddling, just smoothly insert a key on the first try? You always like feel around a little bit for it, right? But sorry, now I'm just like moaning. But
That's such a good point, though. Seriously,
but if
'cause I
you watch
drop
the
my
show,
keys all the time.
but if you watch the show, it's like every time a key goes into the door, it's like just like perfect. It's like they don't teach that, you know, like that's a skill that you have to
They
learn.
don't teach that.
It's truly, that's like a hard won ability. So I want people to be on the lookout for beautiful key work.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the
Thank
time
you.
today.
Thanks, James.